And welcome to Finances After Divorce. I am sure this is a place most of us thought we would never be, but unfortunately, sometimes it happens, and we need to make sure that we are ready to move forward financially when it does. So, we are going to talk about where do we even start, right? So, you're talking about divorce, you're going to get divorced. Where are we starting? Going to calculate our new income, set some financial goals for ourselves, create a budget, and then we need to move on. And moving on is not the psychological moving on, it's the financially, like, how do we keep progressing forward? So, thinking about how to restart your personal finances can seem totally overwhelming. But there are definitely a few things that you can do to begin setting yourself up for success. The first thing to do is change all of your passwords. So then you review your files, check your credit. So even if you didn't share a password with an ex, they might be able to figure out, based on everything that they know about us, what it is. Or many couples share passwords for joint accounts. Regardless of how you set up your passwords or what accounts you may have had, it's best to start fresh and change all of your passwords. That being said, you do not want to gum things up if you still have joint bank accounts or joint accounts for like a mortgage or something like that. Everybody should have their own login for their bank account. So make sure that your password's changed. The other person should have their own password. If you're currently sharing a logon, everybody can have their own logon. So whoever's email address should change the password for their logon, and the other person should go ahead and get their own logon from the bank. If you're already past that point and you've got, all new accounts, if your divorce is finalized, you want to make sure when you're setting up any new accounts that you're not using old passwords, things that you may have used in the past, or passwords that somebody might be able to guess based on things like kids' names and dogs and whatever, right? I am sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but making sure that you set safe and secure passwords is really important. And then you're going to want to go through all of those files. You might need some paperwork if your divorce is not finalized yet. You might need some financial paperwork to be processing. So as you're going through these things, looking through the papers, what do you need to keep? What can you shred? Please do not just throw it away. Shred, shred, shred. Chelsea has lots of shred days all of the time where you can just bring totes of papers and we'll throw them into a shred truck for you. And is there anything that you need to call about? Is there anything in the paperwork that you don't understand, that you need to change names or addresses or phone numbers or contact information for, that you need to call those accounts? And then make new folders for new accounts and documents. So if you opened new bank accounts and you want to store your starter checks or all of your new account paperwork or whatever it is, start a new account folder for that. And you may want to have a file folder for all your paperwork from the divorce. Whether you're in the middle of it or all the way through it, there is tons of paperwork. So making sure that you have a place that you can keep it all together, and gathering all of those financial records if you need to go to court or if you have already been to court, just keeping track of all of those things. Once you've been to court, if you have kids, there may be future days in courts to talk about child support and things like that. So making sure that you're keeping all of your financial documents someplace locked up that are easily accessible to you is important. so that should you need to grab them, you don't have to spend a week looking for them before a court date. Then you're going to want to check your credit. Unfortunately, sometimes things happen in the course of relationships that maybe one spouse or the other one uses the other person's credit, or there are joint accounts that we've got going on that one or the other does not know about. And so to really be clear about what is going on in our finances, we need to make sure we check our credit. We need to make sure we understand everything that's on our credit report. And that if you think something is on there that you don't understand, or you have questions about, or should be something that your attorney should know about, those are the types of things that you will want to add to those files when you're talking about paperwork and financial paperwork, especially if you were added to a credit card or some account that you were unaware of. You're going to want to look at all three companies. Each company is different. Different credit reporting agencies carry different information, right? So your Visa card or a Visa card might report to 2 or 1 and not all 3. So it's really important that you're getting all 3. So looking at something that only gives you 1 or 2 is not really giving you that really clear picture of your credit. So you want to pull all 3. You want to make sure that you totally understand what is on all 3 of them. Cancel joint accounts. Be wary about this if your divorce is not finalized, because you don't want to mess up anything that is going to get you in trouble in court. But if the divorce is finalized and all of the decisions have been made, you do not want to leave those joint accounts open. Joint accounts don't get changed by a divorce decree. So if you go to court and the divorce attorney says XYZ partner is responsible for paying this debt, that doesn't mean that the credit card company has taken your name off of the credit, right? The credit card company doesn't know anything about that. They don't know what the judge has decreed. What they know is that when you applied for the credit, both of your names were on it. So you do want, you may need, depending upon the credit company, a ruling by the judge as to who's responsible for that debt. And remove yourself, if you can, from other debts. If you can't remove yourself, if they will not let you split the joint account, you are going to want to close that account. Both partners have the ability to close a joint account. You do not want to leave it open with your name on it if the other spouse is responsible for paying it, because if they don't pay it, your credit still will be affected. And the credit card company doesn't really care about what a judge said if it already is not being paid. So make sure you have all the paperwork, have a phone conversation with your credit companies, and try and get yourself off of those accounts. Calculate your new income. So chances are your new income is going to look very different from your old income, especially if you went from a 2-income household to a 1-income household. And that income, you might be the major breadwinner for the house, or you might not. If you were, that could mean more child support or more alimony. If you were not, you might be likely getting more child support or alimony, depending upon what's happening. But you need to take a look at your finances. Are you paying or receiving? Are you paying or receiving child support? Are you paying or receiving alimony? Salary from your employment. Like, what does that look like? If you're retired, What does that mean for your pension or Social Security? These are the things that you need to be thinking through, right? Especially if you are a police officer or in any kind of government office. If you have a pension in retirement, what is that going to look like after the divorce is over? Your partner may be getting a part of that pension or may be eligible for a part of that pension once they're eligible for retirement. So having that conversation and deciding what that's going to look like, and really having an understanding of what that looks like and what difference is that going to make in your retirement. Because if you were expecting to retire and receive a full pension and all of a sudden there is another person that is going to be getting part of that pension, you may need to make sure that you're bulking up somewhere else in some kind of other retirement portfolio. If you have questions, you should be talking with a financial advisor. I am not a financial advisor. I am an educator. I'm a financial educator. I am not allowed to give advice about what you should be doing as far as investments go. I'm allowed to say, you might want to consider finding a financial advisor. If you do that, make sure the person's reputable. Look them up online, make sure they have some good reviews, because there are some out there that just are not reputable. You want somebody that is going to meet with you at least once a year to talk about where you're at, where you want to be, and if you're hitting those goals. Speaking of goals, you're going to want to set some, right? So you may have had goals as a couple, but now that you're either going through a divorce or have been in a divorce and now you're through the other side, you're going to want to set personal goals for yourself. What is that going to look like? Is it getting an apartment of your own if you have moved in with friends or family? Is it buying a house of your own? Is it repairing your credit because things happened during the divorce and unfortunately you were relying too much on credit? Is it paying down debt? Whatever it might be, we need to be thinking about what are our new goals, right? New goals are great because new goals means that you have something that you're working towards. Sometimes when you get a divorce, I know when I got a divorce, I felt a little adrift. And what really helped solidify me was having something that I was working towards, other than just making it to the end of the month and having money. That's not a great feeling. And if that's kind of where you're at right now, maybe one of your goals could be getting out of that paycheck to paycheck situation. So make sure that they are SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. So if your new goal is pay down credit card debt, you don't want to just say, I want to pay down credit card debt, because if I pay $20, technically I've paid it down. But I'm sure that wasn't really the intent of my goal, right? So it could be something like, I want to pay off $20,000 of credit card debt by August of 2026. Making sure that they are measurable, knowing when you get there that they are achievable. So you can't say, I couldn't say I want to pay down $20,000 of credit card debt by 2024. I would literally have like a handful of days between now and then, right? If I had $20,000 in my account, I would not be worrying about paying down credit card debt, right? So that means I probably need time to get that done. So I want to set myself a realistic and achievable timeline. How will I know when I've reached it? Well, if it's paid off, and if 20,000 seems like a large chunk to you, If you think that sounds unsurmountable, say 5,000. I want to pay down $5,000 of credit card debt, and then another $5,000, and then another $5,000. So whatever it is, you can chunk it out, right? You can have the ultimate goal be that you want it to happen by 2026, but you could say $5,000 by January of 2025, right? I have given myself a timeline. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to do it. I'm chunking it out, right? Then you're going to want to set yourself up a budget. I'm not going to go into this. We did a whole class on budgeting. It's a lot to talk about in like one slide, and it takes a whole hour on its own. So I would jump over to that budgeting class and take a peek at that. But you definitely need to set yourself up a new budget. Whatever budget you were functioning on before is out the window. You need a new budget with your new income, your new expenses. Everything has changed. Making sure you're realistic with yourself. Don't put yourself in a position where you're going to be in a place that you're not going to be able to hit those numbers, right? If your car payment's too much, where can you cut back? Do we can we afford that car? Can we afford, whatever? Can we afford the apartment that we want? Do we need to get a different apartment? Thinking through, what does that look like? We absolutely do not want to be putting ourselves in a position where we are going to not have enough money to pay our bills. That is stressful. It's not fun. And you're already in a place where you need to recover emotionally. You also don't need that emotional baggage of feeling strapped for cash, right? So looking over that budget and really making sure that everything that you're spending money on is what you should be spending money on. Set it up. If you were not the keeper of the budget before, you are the keeper of the budget now. So just because whoever happened to be doing the budget before did it one way does not mean that you have to do it that way. You could do it in an Excel spreadsheet. You could put it in a journal. You could do some calendaring budgeting. All of those things. You can change it up. What feels better to you? If you were doing the budgeting before, but you hated doing the budgeting, maybe try switching it up and see if you like it a different way. Now, we have probably less income. So that means we're probably going to need to save some money somewhere. Where can you make those cuts in your weekly and monthly spending to help meet your goals? All right. Unfortunately, it's personal expenses. You can look at your grocery budget, but cutting yourself to ramen only for every day is probably not healthy. Your cholesterol will be up, your fat will be up, and you'll be tired of ramen. So let's look at our personal expenses. Cable and internet can be upwards of $125. How can we reduce that bill? Can we get only cable? Do we want to get rid of like keep our internet and get rid of cable and instead have Netflix or Hulu or Apple TV, or maybe even all three, because all three of those might in the end cost less than cable. We're going to reassess those groceries. How can we reduce our bill? How many are we cooking for? So oftentimes before, even if you weren't the one that was cooking, the grocery bill was what it was because you were cooking for more people. So I knew when I got divorced that I had two boys, and they ate a lot of food, right? I did not want to take them down to, all right, it's ramen, right? I did not want to be the ramen mom. So, but I knew that the weeks that I could save money are the weeks when they were with their dad. So those were the weeks that I compromised on groceries. I ate a lot of pasta, right? I figured out what could I make that I could extend over the life of the week. Could I make a chicken on a Sunday and then use the chicken for other meals for the rest of the week? Chicken pot pie, chicken salad, chicken, how can I take something and spread it out to beat my budget? Who will be there and when? Bring your lunches to work. I know sometimes it's hard. I lunch prepped on Sundays, put some stuff aside. I made a lot of salads. I'm not really a salad eater, but I found some really great like taco salads and things that really had some kick to it, that I could, bulk up on. Nobody wants to just eat like a rabbit. Make sure to throw some protein on there. And then how do we move on, right? We need to focus on what we can control. There are going to be a lot of things that we have no control over, right? The judge may have given you some decrees you maybe don't agree with. Maybe you're fine with everything, but we have to focus on what we can control. Open a new bank account. Oftentimes one or the other just removes a partner from a bank account, and then keeps the same bank account numbers and things like that. The only problem with that is that both spouses know what those account numbers are. So you may want to close out one account and open a new account, right? So even if somebody is removed from the account, that does not mean that they don't remember what your account number and routing number and all the other numbers are, right? So likely we want to close out the joint account and then open two separate accounts. Change your beneficiaries. So making sure that we are taking X's off of our health insurance policies, that we are taking them off our death benefits, that we're taking them off of everywhere that they need to be, insurance and things like that. We do not want to leave people on that should not be there, right? So making sure you're making all of those changes. It was a little bit of a nightmare. I will be honest. It took me months to get things sorted out to where they needed to be. The bank's HR was really great about it. So that was super helpful. They just helped me walk through the whole process of making sure that everything was fixed. Also, a divorce is a major life change. So if you were on your spouse's insurance and now you need to be on your own insurance, you do not need to wait for open enrollment because you have had a major life event. Okay. You no longer have insurance. You need insurance. Oftentimes, insurance companies accept that. So that enrolls you into a policy. And so that was great. Update your personal insurance. Yeah, I did not want my ex to be like, oh yeah, her health insurance, man. Then you guys would have been at the door wondering why somebody was collecting my health insurance, my death benefits, right? Nobody wants that. So making sure that you were updating all of those things, your personal insurance. Oftentimes our personal insurance is tied to places that we've lived before. the fact that we are married. Now we are not married. So make sure you're calling your car insurance company, removing people, changing policies, updating all of those things, especially if you move. If you are the one that has moved, updating all of the addresses and changes, that might change some of your policies. If you're driving further to work than you were before, your insurance may go up. Just a heads up. Create a safety net for yourself. Before, if you were a 2-income household, there was kind of a little bit of a safety net there, right? There was always another income that you could depend on. Now that is not going to be the case. So making sure that you're getting disability insurance, and getting an emergency savings account set up. So here's what I'm going to say. In your emergency savings account, you should have 6 months of your pay. However, if somebody had 6 months of pay available to like shove in an account, we wouldn't need an emergency savings account. But that's not how it works. So you want to be able to build it up to get there. The best place to start is one paycheck, right? Get into an emergency savings account, a base paycheck, because then if something happens, you have to take some unpaid leave, you've got this emergency savings that you can pull from. When we're talking about all of the things that happened to me personally, was that my ex was assigned by the judge all of our debt. And unfortunately, as I have said, my name was still on it and I was responsible. So when it wasn't paid, they came after me for it. So chunks of my income had to go towards paying off of this debt that I wasn't counting on. Emergency savings will help defer some of those expenses if that should happen. Okay. It's a lot. It's all a lot. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. There are things out there that like everybody is a different scenario. So if you have questions about something that might be happening financially, I am not an attorney, I'm not a financial advisor. But if you have questions about something that might be happening, please feel free to send me an email or give me a call, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Have a great day, and I hope this was helpful.